Thanks again for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. We are in our season 4. This is our episode 2 of season 4, and we are joined today by lovely Lauren Mosley. So she'll be she'll be joining us a lot on our episodes. We are coming to you with information, tools, resources to make sure children are on track for learning and they stay on track for success. So please, if you're not already subscribing, please subscribe, like, and share this with someone who also can be giving their children the competitive advantage. Our episode today is really going to focus on technology because there are some new developments in education, and we really want to make sure that you are aware of these new developments and how what you are doing at home or your own classroom can help support kids in their growth. Hi, thank you so much for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. I am TD Blennaw. We have this podcast to help parents and caregivers with having the resources, strategies, and tools needed to make sure that their children are on track for learning and to stay on track for success. How's it going, Lauren?
It's going great. It's going wonderful. I am enjoying this time, being able to catch up with you and seeing all the fun that you're having, all the adventures you've been on, your travels and everything. So, yeah, I'm doing wonderful.
That is so good to hear. So there, just because you've been hinting at it, we are both on vacation right now. We are, really being intentional. I'm being very intentional about pouring into myself. I still have projects going, I'm on my podcast, and we are doing some traveling, celebrations, all of those kind of things. So we recently came back from Guam. And we chose Guam because we just wanted somewhere to relax and enjoy ourselves. We weren't really looking for a touristy spot. And some people are so funny to me. They're like, why'd you go to Guam? Like, what made you go to Guam? That's like, I don't know anyone who has gone to Guam.
I don't either. That's a different kind of vacation destination.
Yeah, it's just laid back. It is still one of our territories of the United States. I was a little bit apprehensive about traveling out of the country. I feel like there's so many things going on. There's a war going on. There's all kinds of things going on. And I just felt reticent about going out of the country. And I thought Guam would be a nice, relaxing place to go to. And it was. And we went there.
I know your husband did some hiking in a I don't know, survivalist kind of place.
I'm laughing because we went to a place called Tarzan Falls in Guam, okay? And we kept going around in circles. We were looking for some kind of visitor center, some big signage. There was none of that. There was a little bitty sign that was probably 8.5 by 11.
Yeah.
And it was like, welcome to Tarzan Falls. Yes. And then even finding the opening, like there was a place like, you kind of just park, head in parking. And there's probably like space for like 5 or 6 spots there. There is no one there. There is a little opening, probably about 3 or 4 feet wide that you go in. It is enough room for you to walk single file. It is not paved or anything. It's there's even like trees and stuff like that are kind of in the way. You have to be, step over.
Your machete to kind of.
Yes. Somebody had cut. Yes. Someone had intentionally cut, trees back or whatever. It was very hot and humid. So I think it was probably 80 degrees, but with humidity, it felt much hotter. And the issue was my husband had slipped twice, and I went, I don't know, I'm just going to say 500 feet. I don't know. And I stopped, and I was just like, I cannot go any further. I'm going to go back. I was like, if you give me the car keys, I'm going to go sit in the car. I can't, like, inside of me, I just was like, I cannot go further. I didn't know what with creatures around. I am generally a very scary person when it comes to these type of things. And I just went back and I just waited. I actually called Lauren and I just waited for him to come back. I prayed, like, please send my husband back in one piece. Right. He was laughing at me because as I sat outside, there was two groups of people who came back and drove away. One group got out. There was a guy, maybe he was in his 30s, and he was with parents. And I would say they're in their 70s. Very, and they went and did it. And he said they made it.
You helped them get to the...
I helped them see the opening, right? The 3-foot entrance. And they were like, this is it. I was like, this is it. And I said, my husband went. I came back. They just nodded at me and smiled and they went on. And my husband did see them along the path. He even took a picture and was like, haha, these people made it, but you didn't. And I really feel like growth for myself, right? Because I sometimes challenge myself to do things and I really regret it. And I just felt really settled in my soul. Like, nope, I don't want to go further. That's enough. And, I have been having, I had an accident in April on the way to one of my book events. And I actually, had, my back lock up on me, different things like that. So for me, it was the right decision, right? Who knows? What if my back went, I had a back spasm in the middle of Tarzan Falls? Like, I don't know. So I feel so secure in making that decision for myself. Who knows? Right? Yeah. I made it back safe. My husband made it back safe. I really felt, he's like, you abandoned me. I was like, you abandoned me. So it's like a little kind of.
And we got to have a full-on conversation about all the things going on in our lives and the podcast and education and, so it was great. It was great for me.
Yeah.
And so it's like when I used to go on roller coasters, you get all the way up to the front and then you're like, you know what? I'm turning back around.
I've definitely been that person for sure. I can't do roller coaster. I could barely do a Ferris wheel. That's scary for me. Right. I mean, I don't care. Judge me if you want.
No shame.
I'm going to be secure on the ground. Lauren, what's been going on with you? What have you been doing with your vacation?
Well, I had a friend from LA come in town. He wanted to come to Texas for vacation. I do not know why, because it is very minute. It's not so much the heat as it is the humidity, but he was interested in all of the FIFA soccer tournament things going on. So we went out to Fan Fest and had a great time watching all the different. I mean, I thought it was just a place where you just watch the game, but no, they had places where kids could actually play soccer. They had, NASA had a couple exhibits that were out there. They had some indoor cooling places where you could just relax and, get drinks and ice cream. It was just a full-on festival all around soccer. And I'm not a big soccer player or a big soccer fan for that matter, but how Houston has embraced this FIFA is just pretty cool. Like, just the whole city has just rallied behind this festival. And I'm glad I went. I would not have gone had my friend not been here from out of town and wanted to go. But I'm glad I went. It was worth it. I might be a new soccer fan now. Yeah. USA lost the match that we actually watched. We did not win, but it was just great to be able to cheer for, the USA. And, we celebrated the 4th as well with him and, just did it Texas style and he really enjoyed it. So it's been a good summer.
That's great. What I want to talk about really briefly, because I did an episode probably about a year and a half ago or something about my hair and how I didn't want to add any extra hair. Right. Mm-hmm. And I haven't done that. And I just got like these mini twists right now. And I have kept them in for several weeks. They're a little fuzzier than I usually allow them to. I'll usually like retwist. And it's growing very nicely. I got a trim and everything like that. Mm-hmm. My daughter did my mini twist. She never does natural. Well, she rarely does natural hair, but I kind of like push her to do it. And she really did a good job on it. Anyway. That's what I got going right now. I just wanted to get like a quick update. It's growing and it's, yeah.
I love the natural. I just took my twist out this morning, right? I've been out in the rain and I've had my twist in and enjoying just not having to do my hair for, a few days. And you take it down, you got a whole new style.
Yes, basking in the beauty of natural hair, right? Not adding anything, just enjoying our natural hair. And, it is a practice in self-love and self-care. And all the things that we're talking about, we also could think about our kids, right? Letting our kids know that our hair is beautiful the way it is, helping them to learn how to take care of it, knowing that it's a journey, right? It takes some time, takes some effort, but it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be stressful.
Right.
But also really just speaking beauty into yourself.
Yeah.
And to your children about their hair. There's so many negative messages out there embedded in the media, things that we say. I've heard Black
Right.
people say about their own hair. Like, just be cognizant of that. That really, that internalized racism, that's like a form, that's one of our forms of internalized racism that a lot of people are still not ready to talk about and take on. But it's so real, and it's something that we really need to unlearn
Yeah.
and really pour, love and life into our children.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do want to kind of shift now to talk about some things that are happening. One of just like a tragic event is like Nolan Wells, his family. He, if you don't know, a 18-year-old, on the cusp of manhood, he's a college student. He was a college student. He went out with his friends in Mississippi to a barrier island, Horn Island, and he went out with them on a boat to that island. 4 of them went out, at my understanding, and only 3 of them came back, right? So Nolan did not come back with them. A lot of people are talking about his race, right? There's, 3 Caucasian males and 1 Black male, Nolan Wells, and Nolan Wells didn't come back.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into speculation. I just know that our hearts go out to the family, and it's just a kind of unspeakable tragedy. And
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And to your point, we have such a history of young Black people going missing and
yeah,
not enough being done to find out what happened and
yes,
what were the circumstances around their deaths. And we have lots of missing children of all races, but there's something very unique about our community, in that many times we have lots of ways that authorities could have the investigation go in order to find out some answers.
yes,
It seems that certain stones are not turned,
yeah,
and that's a historical fact.
it
That's
is.
that we have receipts that this is something that happens very often in our community. So it does, kind of make your hair stand up a little bit, like, oh no, what could have happened? And I hope this family gets the answers, and we can, as a community, kind of wrap ourselves around our children and be very mindful of, how we present them to the world, and how we allow them to go out into the world, and how they are going to be perceived. And at times, they're going to have to take some extra precautions that maybe
Yes,
communities don't
yes.
have to.
And,
So,
I'm going back to myself when I was saying I didn't want to go further in Tarzan Falls. Like,
mhm,
a lot of things that, we know is that animals, they listen to their instincts.
yeah.
They'll start making noises, they'll start yelling, they'll, barking, and we're like, what's going on? Because they stay attuned. But
Mhm,
we socialize ourselves a lot of times out of our instincts, right?
yeah.
Little things like even making a kid hug adults, right? Like, if they don't feel
Mhm,
comfortable, and I always tell my family members, my little niece or nephew doesn't want to hug me, I'm like, that's okay.
right.
Naturally, they'll learn to trust me or whatever. But it's okay if when they first meet me, they don't want to hug me. I'm like, get over here and hug me. You better hug me. Like, they need to learn to trust themselves, right? Because we all have these little messages in ourselves like, oh, maybe I shouldn't
Mhm,
turn this way. Oh, I don't know if I should. And, of course, it doesn't keep you out of every situation. Certain things are going to happen, right? But I just wonder, right? I
trust-
just
yeah.
wonder if he listened to all of his messages that were in his instincts. And, I don't know, right? I know that, again, one one report is that he did have a black best friend that could have went on the boat with them, but they said it was not enough room on the boat for his black friend, his best friend, to go, and he didn't go. And would that have made the difference? We don't know. We can't woulda, shoulda, could, like we're not sure. But maybe there was a little instinct there, like maybe I should get off and just hang out with my friend. I don't know. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But we need to make sure that we honor our internal voices and do not, dismiss kids' instincts. As they're growing up, because when they get into certain situations, they can navigate away from danger if they are tuned to what those messages are, right? I don't feel this is right. I'm not sure. And then they just say, I'm going to do something else, despite people like, why don't you do this? You should do this. Go ahead and hug. Go ahead. And you're inside. No, I don't want to. I don't feel safe. And just moving on. That's going to be something that's going to really help a child. Right.
Exactly. So love to that family and prayers for them. And let's just hope that they can, have some good legal representation on their side and really get to the bottom of what happened. I think good for them, because just not knowing is just heartbreaking.
Right. The Rewrite Method and the Rewrite Method Workbook are your go-to resource for helping kids to learn to fall in love with writing. It has the tips, tools, resources, strategies, and skill-building activities to help kids fall out of writing hate and into loving to write. Get your book set today. There's some media bias, right? In it. They're hearing from the friends that were with him that returned without him. And now what those friends are saying have become authority, saying that that's what it is, right? There's a reporter, a former Good Morning America weekend person, Janae Norman, who is pointing out these media biases, right? Those friends that were on the boat wiped their social media, and they actually had Nolan's phone. They also had his car keys. But they did not. The reason why the family found the phone is because of an app called Life 360. And so that's an app where everybody in the family could track where everyone is. And so they didn't know where he was. They did not call and say, hey, Nolan didn't return without us. I mean, he didn't return with us, but we have his phone. The family tracked down the phone. And they said, we know that the phone is there. Can you give it to us? And it took a little time for them to give it back to them. The same with the car keys. It took them some time to get back those car keys back. They even called the police. They waited. They finally got those things. Again, we're, I can't speculate. These are just facts that have happened. And we're going to be talking more about technology, but Life 360, I mean, that was something that really was able to move some information forward, because they didn't know where the phone was and no one was volunteering that they had the phones either. Right.
So that shows you that their parents had the sense enough to say, hey, we want to make sure we always know where our son is. So, this kid is loved and cherished and, taken care of. And
it's a lot, right? Yeah. So it's so important that we are, taking that into consideration. Just these are the facts of the case. And, technology is a two-edged sword, right? Like sometimes it's going to help us and sometimes it's going to be a distraction for us. Sometimes it's going to be problematic. But in this case, the Life 360 was something that was very helpful for them in this case. And as we're thinking more about technology, there is new laws as far as kindergarten through second grade. New policy. I don't know it's a law. It's a new policy. We know that in the Los Angeles Unified School District, if you're in grades K through kindergarten, TK, transitional kindergarten, first grade, you're not supposed to have any screens, right? That's
Right.
banned. So this new
It's no
2026,
screen time at all. That's what it's like, zero screen time. Is that what it is?
that is what I'm seeing. I pulled up some reports.
Yeah.
It says preschool through first grade, no screen time.
No screen. Wow.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So the board voted unanimously for this, right?
Wow.
Unanimously, no screen time. The
Do
other
you
thing,
know, do you just to do you know if there was some specific research that said that this was, hey, we have to, for this K through 2, we need to limit the screen time, or, totally take it out? Was there something that you saw that was research based or anything like that?
yeah, well, there's a parents organization that really was rallying against the screen time. So there's a parent organization. They are backed by research. It is well documented as well. Like some of these CEOs that are over these tech companies don't have their kids
Their kids
online
are
and
not
don't
on
have them on screen.
technology. Exactly. Exactly.
So,
Yeah,
so it, yeah.
the reason I ask is because they're so, like, our school district, it seems like every year they ramp it up. They just ramp it up. We have 3 different apps that the students are mandated to finish, 20 minutes a day. That's an hour worth of screen time.
Woo, a
And
lot of
that's,
time.
yeah. And it gets, that's an increase from when this accountability started, where I am held accountable if these kids don't get this amount of screen time.
So they email you or whatever, and they're like,
Oh
Miss
yeah,
Mosley, get that done.
yes, you have
Yeah.
kids
So
who are finished minutes. Yep.
we've talked about this before, right? When we're talking about the iReady, and so it's not just iReady, right? We're hearing,
Right.
From she doesn't, Lauren, Miss Mosley doesn't have the iReady, but there's still this mandate.
Right.
So there is a group called the Distraction Free Schools Policy Project. So the Distraction Free Schools Policy Project really has been pushing for there not to be screen time, or at least limits on it, right?
Yeah.
So there is a lot of research, and we've talked about this. I've talked about this before on the podcast, as far as it really disrupting kids' development, their ability to concentrate. There is research about it limiting their development in that area.
Right.
And really, I think it was 2011 when my school was, one of the pilots doing a one-to-one iPad program. And we didn't have a lot of like research about it, right? A lot of stuff, we have to be careful because America, we know, is just fueled by capitalism, right? It's fueled by capitalism. So a lot of times, people come in with these investments. They'll start by giving you free things, and then, it becomes a paid thing. Then it becomes something you're relying on. So it's like, it's really important to think about it. So we were one of a pilot schools that did one-to-one. I really invested myself in doing a lot of research and teacher research and, really studying how to integrate it in productive ways for students. But of course, I didn't have any research on how it dealt, biologically, like it interrupted their ability to concentrate. Even as college professors are saying that kids are not able to read once they're in college, we call them adults, but they are not able to do like a 20-page article. Like everybody in the class is like, that was too long. Like I couldn't get through it. And they attribute this to technology. Like we are used to, Zooming, like it, and it takes like, they said like, I don't know, like 10 seconds before someone like scrolls away from you, unless you're like really like, whatever that is, whatever that thing that you say or that thing that you do. They're swiping away from it. So again, when it's time to read something that's longer than 2 paragraphs or 20, we're getting 20, 25 pages. It's like, none of us did. That was too much. That was very long. And it's like,
I even saw some research about how when when little kids are on the keyboard and say they're spelling a word like cat, every letter is the same stroke. It's tap C, tap A, tap
Yes.
C. And that's not creating that muscle memory of having to form letters and having
Yes.
to spell things because it is embedded in on a physical level. Like, the
Yes.
strokes to spell the letter, and it's
Yeah.
embedded in you.
Right.
And so you're seeing kids who literally, because they're just tapping, and when it comes to writing things, they just have such a hard time, even with holding a pencil, tracking on paper, anything that requires them to follow like a stream of text is really challenging for them. And I just see that in the classroom, just from having taught first grade for the past 4 years, just the increasing amount of difficulty kids are coming into the classroom with, because but you know what? They can log on, they can, they can do all this on the screen, but they're just having a really challenging time with retention, with motivation.
Yeah.
A lot of those executive functioning skills are missing. The social aspect of working with a peer, buddy reading, turn and talking, like all of those things take so long for them because they have so much time interfacing with a screen, and they don't have enough time building those social connections and learning from other students and being able to compare and contrast each other's work. They're just staring at a screen. And so I am seeing, I have the data here. Come and ask me. What is screen time, this increasing amount of screen time, doing to kids' ability to really be successful in class?
Yeah, so there's another organization called Schools Behind Screens, and they say, they were one of the organizations behind getting the screen limitations, right? Banned in K through K first, second, but limited in all the other grades too. So those limits are early ed in K through 1, 0. Okay, so let me fix that. I said K through 2, not K under second grade. Okay, so early ed in K through 1, 0 screen time. Grades 2 through 3, 1 hour and 40 minutes is their weekly limit. Grades 4 through 5, 2 hours and 30 minutes. Grade 6 through 8, 6 hours a week. 9 through 12, 10 hours a week. So they're also no longer be giving a computer or some type of device to take home, because part of this really exploded during COVID. And of course, out of an emergency, out of, trying to keep people safe, everyone was giving a device so they could have something to work on, and that, they could do the homeschooling kind of thing, the at-home learning.
So what does that mean for standardized testing? Because we've had tests that start at 8 and don't end till 3 o'clock.
That is a great question. I don't know. These articles don't answer that. I'm reading from the Los Angeles Times website. And I don't have answers for that, because if you don't know out there, all of our tests now are computer based. Right. So I don't know. Great question. There are very few tests that we do just like one-to-one, things like DIBELS, which is dynamic indicators of basic early literacy skills. That's what DIBELS means. Everyone thinks it's a word. It's not a word. It's an acronym. Right. And so that's where, as a teacher, I'll just have you read and I'm marking. And I can do that paper and pencil still. And of course, I'm listening to the student. So different. The other thing that I want to say is the policy is blocking YouTube and social media sites during the school day. Now, I don't know if they're blocking it for teachers, because as a teacher, I can use YouTube as an instructional tool. And even like brain breaks and stuff like that, I would use YouTube. So I don't know. We'll see. Right. What I see now is that they have consulted parents. They've consulted parents, and then they've gone to the board. As a teacher, I actually haven't had that much input where people are saying how much screen time should there be. And that is the issue with a lot of education policies. They often skip right over the teacher. Yeah. They skip right over the teacher. And they're like, we're getting rid of YouTube. And I'm like, well, are you getting rid of YouTube for teachers? Because we actually can use it in very sound instructional ways. Right. And so I hope you're not blocking. And a lot of times things are blocked for kids, they're blocked for us as well. There are ways around it. I don't know. But again, I have not been consulted, and I don't know if they have, if they have a team that they're consulting. Obviously, they're not going to talk to every single teacher, but they could give us a survey or something. And we haven't done that. And so I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah. And you're going to have these newer teachers where their whole teacher training is on using technology and devices. Like, I could teach perfectly well without YouTube.
I can too.
So, but I think for, newer teachers, that's going to be a real struggle because they completely rely on, slides.
Yeah, it is. That is so true. And
downing it. There are some benefits to it, but
of course,
I've adopted some slides from some of my newer teachers. Like, let me borrow that.
Yes.
It makes teaching a little easier if you can just click and everything is up there for you. However, that's feeding into this whole, students needing the bells and whistles and, not the ability to like just focus on a print on a paper, so because they're so overstimulated, right?
It's a great question.
I remember someone coming in and saying, looking at a teacher who had several slides that went along with this lesson. It was so cute. She had GIFs and she had, the little moving animation, and the evaluator was like, that's you can't even see what it is that the kids are supposed to be learning because there's so much, so much extra, so much.
I know. A lot of people make that synonymous to good teaching, just depending on who you're talking to. And and I know people have said to me, your slides aren't really that good.
Right.
And I'm like,
boring.
I don't care if my slides are good or not. What I'm presenting is important. And a lot of people think the lecture, right? Because remember, lecture used to be, today we're going to do this. And I'm up here talking just like this for the next 30 minutes.
Right.
Of course, it's changed now. So it's still a lecture, but now I'm showing you slide and we're clicking. And we're clicking and there's a slide. You're sitting, you're watching me, and I'm clicking and I'm clicking. And it might be a beautiful slide, but how much am I talking? How much am I interacting with the content? How much am I getting around moving? And some people, right, they're like, oh, that's such a beautiful slide. What a great teacher. They don't necessarily go together, but they think it does. Some people do. Like, oh, the great teachers have the great slides. Like, not necessarily. This slide is here. And I was taught slides are going to give you some information. I might give you a graphic. I'll give you a couple of bullet points, but I'm going to do the talking and we're going to interact. We're going to do this. It's not, the slide's not the lead of the show. So I may not spend a lot of time on a slide because it's not that important, but people add a lot of importance to it and then are forgetting, what are the students doing? Oh, they're watching, they're sitting, they're taking notes on this.
My kids are eating things off the carpet, chewing on their tags.
Right. Like, but I spend hours on this beautiful slide. And of course, with AI now, you don't even have to do that, right? I made a couple of clicks. I wrote in a little quick couple of bullet points, and AI has created this beautiful slide deck. And again, what are students doing? Like, that's a really important part of a lesson. What are kids doing? What are teachers doing? Right? It can't just be about what I am up showing you and pointing to for you. And a lot of that's been lost.
Is the one who's learning the most. Isn't that what they say? Right?
Exactly. Right. That's why it's like, now we're getting up. Now we're moving around. Now we're talking to your partner. We're moving these sentences around. Yes. We are, we're going to find this around the room. Can you find the letter J? Can you find, so then it's like, I'm interacting, I'm thinking. And of course, maybe my teacher's not talking that much because I'm doing some things. I'm interacting with that letter J. I am writing that letter J. I am whatever it is. Yeah. So a lot of things are lost. We're going to see, I'm going to be talking about on the podcast. We're going to be going into like, what that looks like in the classroom with those limits now. And it really should be a balance. We're not saying there should be no technology, but we're not saying it should be all technology. And when these mandates come, and the mandates are really coming from the publishers of these computer-based games, computer-based curriculum and test, this coming from them. because they're telling you if your students, Miss Mosley, are on this app for 30 minutes a day, they are going to increase. Now, of course, kids weren't increasing before this app came along, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
I have
So like
kids
the teachers
I have kids that have they have speech issues, and some of these apps where they have to read to the AI and the AI analyzes their reading, it doesn't work for them.
Right. That's another thing when I do
They
the
lost it
dibbles.
too.
I get to say this was,
and so when they're speaking, they're speaking with because they have a missing
yes,
tooth.
but they're getting marked off right by the AI, and that's the human. That's the human touch, right? As a teacher, when I hear my students with dibbles, I know that is their accent. That is the way they're pronouncing this, but they do know it. I know the difference, right? But obviously the AI doesn't know, and they're like, oh, wrong. And we are like, oh, this kid is not improving.
Yeah. And they're so unmotivated when that happens too. I actually had a kid one day who was a very fluent reader, but because his headphones weren't working, the microphone connected to the headphones, he's reading like a robot just so Amira can hear him. And I go to him, I'm like, why are you reading like that? I was like, well, she can't understand me when I read too fast.
Isn't this so important? Like that human touch, you can eliminate it. You know what? Like this conversation could go on for hours. I mean, so we're going to end it here because we want to enjoy more of our summer, right? And hopefully you're out there enjoying more of your summer, and do something today to give your child the competitive advantage. Have a great day. Thanks again for supporting the Falling for Learning podcast. New episodes go live every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch us on youtube.com at Falling for Learning, or listen on all major podcast platforms such as Apple, Google, Audible, Spotify, and much more. For more resources, visit fallinginlovewithlearning.com. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful week.